viewers, good morning and welcome to another beautiful day. My name is Uche Unyekoloje, and we'll be believing that today we'll be discussing a whole lot. Basically looking at Maina Gate. Maybe too many things.
Yeah, one scandal too many, if you like, because it's just one topic that every Nigerian is talking about since all of that kind of worms was opened. A whole lot of back and forth here. And the presidency came out to say that it is not aware of his reinstatement. Femi Adesina, the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, said that they are not aware of Mina's reinstatement. And of course, that's contrary to what Oyoita was saying last week. But before we get into all of that, let's just introduce our guest in the studio.
Yes, we have a legal practitioner by the name Mr. Ikechukwu Ikeji.
Thank you so much,
Good morning,
for having me. Good morning.
Yes, sir. And then also Dr. Jida Johnson, Deputy Provost, Nigerian Institute of Journalism.
It's
Good
nice
morning,
to
sir.
be with you and Johnson.
Welcome, sir.
Viewers at home.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's just dive into it before we move on. Right now, a whole lot of back and forth right now, but the person who is at the center of it, or that's I'm talking about the embattled former chairman of the Pension Reform Task Force, Abdul Rashid Maina, is saying that he's claiming that the pension fund amounting to more than 3 million naira was trapped in 97 pension offices before he fled, and is accusing the seventh saint of being aware of it. I mean, what does all of this say to you, Jide?
You see, you know, the more you look, the more
You see?
you see. And the more you hear, the more confused you are as regards this Maina Gate. Because the more they talk about, the more revelations you get as regards how there's a rot within the system and how institutional checks and balances fail to play their role as regards stemming the fight against corruption. And we have argued over time that to fight corruption, to deal with corruption, is beyond an individual. You need institutional mechanism, you need structural mechanism to deal with corruption. Because you begin to wonder how the amount of money that are being reported on the pages of newspaper and via various media outlets are leaving the economy without traction. How money will leave agencies of ministries, departments and agencies of government without the Accountant General of the Federation being aware of it, without the Auditor General of the Federation being aware of it, without the Central Bank being aware of it. You know, these are institutions, and you begin to wonder what type of country do we practice. And the guy said, and I've said it on this Maina issue, that it's absolutely impossible for Maina alone to be responsible, because one individual cannot just get money out of the system without the connivance of others. And as far as I'm concerned, and that's my position, I think Maina is a scapegoat. There are issues deeper than that, and I see that there's an attempt to silence him so that the can of worms will not be open. Let me take that to be my opinion.
Okay, Barrister, let's get your opening.
My opening salvo would simply be that we should be seeing Maina on TV and radio and newspapers addressing the world and then giving himself over for investigation. That is the beginning of transparency. Okay. I think he has no case until he comes out to the air, to the public, and gives his own version without running away and hiding. You see, in law, whenever anybody withholds evidence, evidence that is with the person to release, and the person withholds it, the law presumes that that evidence is against the person. So my opening salvo is that we will all be saved all this here and there run around conjectures and all this confusion if Maina would come open, give himself up for investigation, prosecution, and speak out. If there are people, of course, I agree with my colleague here that yes, it's an impossibility for Maina to have gone all the way to do what he has been accused to have done without the connivance or participation, if you like, or knowledge, if you like, of several other persons. So we will be saved the secrecy of the names of these other people if Maina can come on air address Nigerians and say, this is how it is, I did not commit any offense, or I committed an offense, or I did something wrong, but these are the people that did this with me. I'm handing over myself to the law enforcement agencies for prosecution or investigation. And so everybody would be out there, everybody would be clear that indeed every justice is done. Not only done, it's also seen to be done. That is my opening salvo.
Okay, still talking about this now. So invariably, are you saying the letter that was leaked, which was dated sometime in June 2015, which was addressed to Saraki, appealing for a review of investigation probe by Senate Joint Committee on Establishment and Public Service and State and Local Government? I mean, all that letter does not really hold water.
Absolutely. You see, yes. Permit me to also speak from my legal knowledge.
Okay.
You see, when you as a person, you can stand before a panel and speak. You fail to stand before that panel as your person to speak, and you depend on the correspondence, on a letter. It raises a lot of questions. I would have expected Mena to have even appeared before the Senate, made his own case, and let the world judge the complicity or otherwise of the Senate. That letter is good, but that letter cannot suffice the fact that he should present himself to all forms of scrutiny. That is the essence of integrity. That is the essence of honesty. That's what we are looking for in anti-corruption fight. And today, thankfully for this present administration, everybody now is a whistleblower. It is difficult for people to do things today without somebody within the system raising an eyebrow, especially somebody that ought to have benefited but didn't benefit, somebody who has been bypassed. But today, everybody is watching over every other person. So I would have expected Mena, in lieu of the letter, or in addition to the letter, to present himself to the Senate. Constitutionally speaking, the Senate has a right, constitutional power, to do what they are doing, inviting. So for him to have even gone to court in 2013, to quash the warrant of arrest, irrespective of the procedural defects of the warrant of arrest, I would have expected that the integrity quotient in him would have been enough, would have been high enough to push him to say, look at me, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, this documentation says this documentation says this. And that would have put a stop to all forms of accusation.
When the accuser is the judge, I'm playing the devil's advocate.
Okay.
And when the accuser is the judge, what type of judgment do you expect to get from? When the Senate has been accused of complicity, when the people that Mena got hold of, dipping their hand in the cookie jar, have gone ahead to receive special treatment, allegedly, from the Senate, what type of judgment do you expect Mena to get from that from that body? You see, our problem is systemic. It is systemic in the sense that we need comprehensive reform. Comprehensive reforms in if anybody says we are fighting corruption, the person is just playing to the gallery. I've said that over and over. Every money that has been recovered has only been recovered on the pages of newspaper. There has never been any official correspondence from the Accountant General of the Federation. This is the total money we have recovered thus far. Or the Auditor General of the Federation, this is the money we have recorded thus far. Or from the Attorney General, this is the money we have recorded thus far. You only see it on the pages of newspaper without any official acknowledgement or certification as regards money that has been recovered. So if anyone is saying that, we are just playing to the gallery, because it's still the same thing. The same way Yakubu dealt with money in NNPC is the same way the Baru issue cropped up awarding contracts without going through due process, because fighting corruption is about following due process. So what processes have we put in place to stop anybody from dipping his hand in the cookie jar in the nation without having any recourse for financial discipline? So these are the issues, because MENA is just one of the many issues that have bedeviled this nation. And we are a country that seems not to learn from the past. And we usually believe that, oh, there's a superhero that will solve our problem. We believe in personality and not structure. Oh, everybody believed, oh, Obasanjo will solve the problem. Oh, Jonathan will solve the problem. I have no issue. Oh, Buhari will solve the problem. No, it's about structure. It's about putting structures in place. Now, in the United States of America, there was an issue concerning the elections. The FBI director appointed a special investigator. Now, 3 of the former associate of the president, sitting president, are facing. Can that happen in Nigeria? That talks about structure. For us to have structure, we need to reform. Thank God we have a legal person. We need to reform our legal system, the adjudication system, the prosecution system within the nation. We need to divorce the office of the Attorney General of politics. Are you getting my point? So that they can do that, and it will not be a case of who will pays the piper, dictate. Otherwise, we will still be saying the same issue. You know how many issues we moved up from grass cutting to Mina's case,
to the NIA case,
to NIA gate, to Baru's gate, and you ask yourself, I ask this question: who cuts the grass for this year?
All right, we'll come back to you, Uncle JJ, but let's, okay, I thought we had Abuja. Just go ahead. Abuja is not ready for this year.
So who cut the grass for this year? Babati cut the one for 2 years ago, Abi. Who cut the one for last year? Who cut the one for this year? You don't get it. So these are deeper issues. And because nobody raised issue concerning the one for last year, and nobody is raising the issue, and I can bet it that the same amount that grass was awarded will be the same amount it was awarded this year. Because you know the way we go about budgeting last year. We just use last year's estimate, we project, we add to it, and then we
so your own opinion, you think it's a political game? It's just that may not happen.
The political class are playing political game with us. That's the reality.
Okay.
You are, if you don't be on the same page with them, you are dealt with. If you are on the same page, they will use glass ceiling to cover up your.
All right. At this point in time, we'll just take a quick break. We'll return to speak more on scuffle between the presidency of course, Buhari's chief of staff and Oyo Ita, you know, a whole lot of back and forth here. Adesina was saying that the presidency is not, or the president is not aware of his restatement. Oyo Ita is saying that the president is aware. I mean, what does this really say? I mean, in a country where we're supposed to be working as one in the fight against corruption, one is saying this, the other is saying another thing.
Well, I think it's structural. It is unheard of that a person in the mode of Maina, both in terms of personality and in terms of office and in terms of situating him within the Nigerian corruption context, should resume into the such that the president is not aware. I think it's a big structural problem. However, Oyo Ita made a fundamental mistake. This is a system where you must always be seen to be transparent, accountable, and perhaps, of course, inclusive. You see, rather than making a verbal representation to what you call the president, it was to have been best for her to have made a memo. I don't know how the civil service operates if memo cannot proceed from her to the presidency or to the president. However it can proceed from, I would have expected that those thoughts that she has about the reinstatement of Maina ought to have been put in writing. Now you can see the absurd request, as it were, that we are learning that the chief of staff to the president made of Oyo Ita, that she should present photographic evidence that she made such a representation to the president. It's an absurd request, but then again, you have to also balance it against the opposite, which is the absurd claim by the woman that she made a verbal representation to the president, and the president has not come out to say yes or no. If the president says that is wrong, then it becomes a matter of your word against my word. So I think that Oyo Ita should have some forms of reprimand, some kind of reprimand. And I'm not saying that it is because her hands are soiled. I am saying that because she did not do what she ought to do in the circumstances. The only memo we have proceeding from her is that which referred the matter to the Ministry of Interior to consider the request or the directives of the Attorney General. And this brings me again to the letter, the 2 or 3 letters from the Attorney General. There's a word that was used there that made me think very, very, very deeply about what kind of mess we have found ourselves in our civil service. I do not understand or fathom how the Attorney General can use the word direct to the Federal Civil Service to reinstate MENA. I don't see. He's the Attorney General, he's the Chief Law Officer. He can only give legal advice. But he used the word direct. You are hereby directed to reinstate MENA, to take action. So it raises a whole lot of questions. That may give you an inkling as to the mindset, as to how that system works, that indeed, irrespective of the offices held by these parties, the Attorney General by his person, not by his office, appears to have the power to direct people to do things the way he wants them to do. And that is the interpretation I can take away from that. Having directed the FCSC, Federal Civil Service Commission, to reinstate MENA, the FCSC now wrote to the head of service or something and to the Ministry of Interior and requested for them to reinstate MENA, and the response is natural, where there is the authority coming from the Attorney General, as it were, not his office, but him as a person being up there to reinstate MENA. They will always.
Does he have the right to direct his
That is the question I'm raising. He doesn't. As a lawyer, perhaps people who are in the civil service can correct me to tell me that the Attorney General has the power to direct the Federal Civil Service Commission to reinstate or to employ somebody or to reabsorb somebody and reabsorb the person from the position of a director, because there was no evidence also that MENA took the exams, the promotion exams that he ought to have taken to have graduated from grade level 16 to grade level 17. So there are a whole lot of questions, in my view, to be asked in this situation. A lot of people should in fact by now be made to throw in the towel, starting from the Attorney General of the Federation, even to the head of service, to the Chief of Staff himself.
Yes.
The President, you may say, let's spare him because he is an elected official, but he deserves some kind of explanation to the country. I mean, we deserve some kind of explanation from him to the nation. I think that the Senate and the House of Representatives should call him to address them on the issue of how MENA, his own role in how MENA got reinstated. Because it would, like I said earlier on, it is unheard of that the person in the personality, in the office, and in the situation of MENA should be reabsorbed without the knowledge of the president, given the enormity of the accusations against him.
Okay,
so
when you are talking about writing a memo, how are you sure the memo will get to the president? One, when allegedly the chief of staff is involved. When Kachuku wrote the Minister of State for Petroleum that works directly, couldn't see the president. Now, if it's every meeting in governance that you have to write memo, then how many memos would you write? Now, if you work in the same office, if I'm your subordinate, there are some issues that I'll discuss with you verbally. There will be a verbal directive which you give to me, and there will be a verbal discussion which we have. So I don't think the woman committed any error. Probably she's tried and they've hindered her from getting access to the president, because you will see quite all right that it's practically becoming impossible to access the president.
All right, Jide, we need to take a quick break. It's still Galaxy today, and we're looking at the MENA gate. In a moment, we'll try and reconnect again with Abuja, and of course, we still have our studio guests here in Lagos. In a moment, we're back. Stay with us.